Welcome to REIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of REIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. Yes! On today's episode, we have two very special guests that will be sharing one of their past projects. We will let you decide if it was good or bad or just plain ugly. But before we begin, here is today's badassery bestowment. This is a quote by Ralph Marston, who was a professional football player almost 100 years ago. So here's his quote. There are plenty of difficult obstacles in your path. Don't allow yourself to be one of them. Now, I love this quote because there are so many times when our mindset is the only thing that's blocking us from achieving our goals. A personal favorite book of mine is Jack Canfield's The Success Principles. The first principle Jack covers in his book is to take 100% responsibility for your life, and the quickest way to do that is to stop making excuses. Another way is to take 100% responsibility for your life is to change how you react to a situation. If you hit an obstacle in your investment business, which you're going to hit a bunch, choosing how you react can make all the difference in the world. Instead of blaming the situation, ask yourself, what is the situation teaching you? If you can change how you react, you can change your outcome. So thank you, Mr. Marston, for those words of wisdom. Now, on to today's episode, we have two of my very favorite people. We have Blazevich, and he has been house hacking for over 15 years. But when he met his better half, Valerie Myers, they created Trailblazer Home Solutions only 18 months ago. These two are total badasses for what they have accomplished in only 18 months. And by the way, Valerie is a REIN member, which makes Blaze a REIN member just simply by osmosis. Also, top secret is that Blaze is one of the first people I let drive my new car, which, yes, it was so much fun. It makes fart noises. Anyway, so thank you, Valerie and Blaze. And they're coming live to us from their bedroom, by the way. Like, they're in bed right now and we're drinking. Cheers, click, click. And yes, so today, you heard that. Today, we're talking about one of their past projects. And I know this project. I saw it from the beginning, saw the end. It was just amazing. And again, they've only been doing this together for 18 months. So I'm so very impressed with how far they've come so quickly. So welcome, Valerie and Blaze.
Thank you, Jen, for having us.
Yay.
We're having fun.
Thank you, sister.
Yeah.
Yes, Blaze is my adopted brother, which is why he got to drive my car, clearly. So, all right. So we are talking about a house, and it's on Higbee, which is in Durham. So give us a quick little description about the property.
Well, this house was a little kind of army cottage, and it was 3-bed, 1 bath. The bath was very small, built in 1941.
Oh.
It was a very cute neighborhood in Durham called Northgate Park. A couple things about it is the entire house and the property were in the floodplain. That doesn't seem to deter people from buying properties in the Northgate Park area. It's a highly sought after area. And there was I-85 right behind the house. So there was a little bit of a noise factor, but we bought it anyway.
Awesome. And how did you find the property?
Well, we did. It was really through a wholesaler, but the wholesaler was marketing it on the MLS.
Okay. And I kind of remember the story. So it was something where he was trying to wholesale the property and he couldn't sell it right away. And so he ended up just listing it on the MLS. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. What was the asking price? And then what did you actually end up paying for it?
So the asking price was originally $125,000. We did offer 112, and they did accept because they were in a bit of a time crunch. Then a strange circumstance with the seller kind of helped us to get the price back down to 107.
Nice.
So that's what we ultimately got the house for. When the sellers were buying a new house, and during that process, the bank discovered an unpaid debt they had in the amount of $20,000.
Oh.
And so to push this deal through, because it was just kind of a really chaotic situation, we ended up paying $5,000 toward their new house, and then that was deducted from the price that we were paying for the house that we were buying. So that basically got it down to 107.
It was non-refundable. It was scary.
Yeah, it was kind of a scary
Here's
situation.
a check. We didn't really know these people. We met them a few times, but
yeah,
I bet that's scary. And they were brother and sister?
yes.
Yeah, 20 plus years, brother and sister living together with 225-pound dogs and I don't know how many cats.
Lots of cats, and this house was packed from top to bottom.
With
just stuff. We didn't even know it had hardwood floors.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. So you get it. And again, I'm sure that was scary. You're contributing $5,000 towards their new house. And so it's deducted. So that's why the HUD came out that you ended up getting it for 107. So that's a great price because I know this area. What was your estimated ARV at time of purchase? And by the way, ARV is the after repair value for our listeners. So what was your estimated after repair value? $240. So from 107 to 240. Right. And what were the estimated repairs at time of purchase?
We estimate about 70,000.
Okay. Okay. So what were some of your big ticket items in that 70,000?
Okay. So this house was a 3-bed, 1-bath, but it did have this rather large den. And we kind of went through a process of having some focus groups over and just asking, would you keep this a den? Or if you were buying this house, would you rather have a kind of a master suite with a walk-in closet and a bathroom and a large master bedroom? So we converted that den to a master bedroom. Then we took one of the original bedrooms that was right next to the den and made that a master bath and a walk-in closet. We also took out a wall, based on your suggestion, Jen. We took out a wall between the dining room and the living room to open up that space and make it more of an open concept. And then Blaze knows more about what we did with the mechanical stuff.
Yeah, lots of heavy lifting there. We ended up taking out 3 walls. Everything we did was for permits, so it was very difficult. We had to get the structural engineer to come in, but it just took time. And then the electrical panel, we had that replaced because it was 100 amps from the outside. But this was a sticking point because the electrician cut power, but we didn't realize that we couldn't get it turned back on without a temporary permit. But we couldn't get the temporary permit until we got the floodplain certificate, which ended up taking 2 months. So we were without power for months. And this was a cold time, so we couldn't do any drywall work because there was no heat. It was just difficult, so that took a long time. We put a whole new kitchen in it. We pretty much gutted the major areas.
Totally gutted.
Totally gutted the kitchen and the original bath. We gutted that all the way back to the studs, and there was just a big hole in the floor.
So as you're going through this and you had the $70,000 budget, did things change while you're going through, and did you make different changes?
We were not going to take that wall
out.
The
extra walls.
That was your suggestion, and we did decide.
Yeah, you cost us money, Jen.
Yeah, you cost us money.
It was a great suggestion, by the way.
It helped us tremendously. So thank you for that.
We did not have to replace the HVAC in this house.
No, we did not touch the HVAC or the water heater. They're both only a few years old, and that was, but we had to put a roof on it. We had to do that in the first week because there was like a 4-foot hole in there, and it was leaking into one of the bedrooms. And then when you're in a floodplain, FYI, you're not allowed to build anything, including a fence, without a permit on the outside of the house. So,
wasn't there some type of elevation something? Was that you?
We had to get the elevation certificate.
So we had just had the whole place surveyed before we bought it. And then when we hit the floodplain peeps, they made us get another survey. So we had to bring them back out to do an elevation, a vertical assessment of the house. At one point, they even said that we might have to lift the air conditioner 2 feet in the air. We did not have to do that, but just stuff like that.
And incidentally, the floodplain people in the county and the permit people in the county, they don't talk to each other.
Of course not.
You have to submit the exact same
Yes.
stuff to 2 different departments.
So keep your paperwork. We had a folder where it was just basically all city information, and then we could just copy paste.
Right.
But then once you learn all that, it just gets so much easier the next time.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
you all taught us about the elevation things. I remember having a conversation with you. I'm like, elevation, what?
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
We did.
So how did you finance this deal?
So we used a HELOC. Which
Okay,
is
and
a home Go ahead.
I was going to say for our listeners, it's a home equity line of credit. And
Right.
so you have it for your own personal home, correct?
Right.
The house we live in, we paid cash for a few years ago.
And you're home hacking it.
We
You're house
are.
hacking it.
We are
Yep.
home hacking it.
And you like to live in dust.
Apparently so.
It's terrible. The cobbler's children have no shoes. That's us. We got to fix our place at some point.
Is that why you're coming to me from your bed right now, because it's dusty elsewhere in the house?
The only place that doesn't have dust.
It's our comfort zone.
I still got to grab the kitchen tile.
They are wearing clothes, by the way, everyone, just so
Oh, yeah, we are.
Mostly.
Woohoo.
just from the waist up. So
That is true for Blaze, actually.
Can't prove it.
So you financed it with your HELOC. So your HELOC, you're paying 5% for the HELOC, but you have this bucket of money to use. So that's awesome. What was your projected timeline?
I think we estimated 6 to 8 months.
Okay. And what was your actual timeline?
It was 11 months from closing to closing.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so the surprises in there were,
Well, we did have to fire our first contractor.
Oh, yeah.
okay, let's talk about that, because contractors are like gold. And a little background on Blaze is, you're a contractor, so you speak their language. And I know one of the things that we worked on early, that I was working on with you, was to get you to stop being the technician and to kind of step back and do things. Did you do a lot of the work on this property yourself?
Yeah, I'm not licensed. I'm a hacker. Hack. Yes, I had a guy who I just paid by the day, basically, do much of what had to be done, except for the plumbing and the professions, the electrical and all that needed the permits. But yeah, I ended up doing too much work myself.
Gotcha.
I would take days off of my W-2 job to go work on this house. Not the way you want to do it.
Okay, you hired this guy to do the roof, but then what happened? Like, why did you have to end that relationship?
So he never gave us a price on the house. He was trying to piecemeal it.
Gotcha.
He said, well, I'll do this much and then you'll pay me this, and then we'll figure out from there. We couldn't get a overall price from him.
We gave him a very detailed scope of work with everything listed on there. And he picked and chose what he wanted to do, I think probably to maximize his profit. And then one of his crew members got sick, and those excuses just start from there. So that was difficult, and he just had to go.
And fortunately, when we did fire him, he did sign a lien waiver. So we paid him for what he did.
Huge
we
thing.
overpaid him. Really.
Just get out. But a lien waiver is key. That way he can't come back and say, you didn't pay me and we couldn't sell the house. So that's important.
Right.
So for the audience,
He was gone.
So the audience knows, a lien waiver, you have your contractor sign it at the end of their job so that they can't come back and put a lien of any sort on your property. And this has saved my ass a couple times with some contractors who they didn't pay like the supply houses. And so the supply houses try to come back and sue us for, what was missing. So it is so important. In fact, to back up really quick, we met through a local meetup group, which is one of the mastery programs for a large educational program. And that's why education is so important, is because you learn these things so that you don't make the same mistakes that many, many people have done before you. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's such a great teaching tool right there. So, all right, you thought it was going to be 6 to 8 months. It ended up being 11 months.
Mm-hmm.
Once it was completed, what was your listing price? Because you originally said 240. So because it's been longer, you have a longer period of time, what did you end up listing it for?
Well, the thing is, during this time also with all the delays, it was delayed 3 months, and COVID hit during this time. And a lot of people took their houses off the market during that time. So the houses that we're selling at premiums. So here we are during our delays, but during this time, the comps were increasing and these houses were selling at premium
because it's less on the market, right?
So we reevaluated our ARV, and it ended up being about 275 is what the numbers said.
We were excited.
But this was my very first listing, and because it was, I decided, hey, I don't want to sell ourselves short. Let's, contact another realtor and see what they say. And that realtor suggested $299.
Wow.
So we listed it for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you listed it for $299, and you were under contract in how many days?
8 days.
8 days. That is awesome. And was it for the full price?
It actually was for the full price, but then we paid $5,000 toward closing costs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So that's awesome. And a big pain point for me is the inspection after they purchase it. So, I know Blaze, you are a contractor, you have that eye. That's not my forte. So were there any issues that came up in the inspection report?
Very
minor things. Yeah. So that's the one upside to doing stuff yourself when you know how to do stuff.
Yes,
but
definitely.
Other than that, I don't suggest it.
Yeah. So, all right, we are moving to final numbers now. So your estimated repairs were 70,000. What were your actual repairs? 86,000. So 16,000 over, but this is being funded through your HELOC. So, okay. So the money's there. That's not a huge deal. HELOCs are about 5%. So what was the interest that you paid back to your HELOC?
8,000.
8,000. That's not bad at all. No. And your holding costs, like your insurance and your electric and all that stuff. What were your holding costs?
About 4,000.
Okay. And the commissions to the realtor that brought your buyer?
It was 9,000.
$9,000. And the closing costs?
About $5,600.
$5,600. And you said the sale price was $299.
Right. $299.9.
$299.9. That is awesome. So this is less than a year into your program, your business that you did this. So what was your profit?
$77,000.
$77,000 in total profit. That's amazing. Anything else you want to add for our listeners that they should know?
Oh yeah. There's something I forgot to mention earlier. When we closed on the house, we had to lease it back to the sellers because they needed 3 more weeks to move all their shit out of the house. It was packed top to bottom.
The brother and sister and the cats and the dogs.
And
they couldn't get it out.
We actually hired movers and paid for movers ourselves. It was $500. And listen, it was so bad, Jen, that those movers said to us, do not ever call us again.
Yeah. And I had to talk them into staying. And they just were not having it. It was disgusting.
But honestly, not to say anything about these sellers because people have their things.
Right.
But what I am happy about is these people actually ended up throwing away a lot of stuff, about 2 dumpsters full of things.
Wow.
So we feel good that when they moved into their new house, they were at least going in there with less stuff.
Yeah.
So we felt like hopefully we helped clean their lives up a little bit.
And, you provided that $5,000 so that they could get the next house.
Right.
And then you gave them $500 towards moving. And a lot of times we as investors, you have to do the right thing. And that's integrity. And that's part of your business is including that. And that's what is going to make you successful at your business. So I love that. Is there anything that you would do differently now that you've completed this project, like with your future projects?
Well, we learned a lot about the floodplain issues, and
allow enough time,
right?
And know you're going to have to double up on the paperwork,
right. But for me personally, I learned from Blaze actually that it pays not to give up. The acquisition of this house was very challenging, and I really just didn't think we were going to get it. I wanted to move on several occasions. I said, let's just drop it and move on. Yeah. But Blaze said, no. We are going to keep prodding through. The goal is to get this house. And, he had what I call tremendous focus with the acronym FOCUS. he followed one course until successful.
I
And
love
that's
it.
what he did, and so
That goes back to our badassery bestowment too. When
Right.
you will have obstacles throughout your real estate investor business, and it's how you react to those obstacles. So good job, Blaze, for
Thank you.
taking
Thank
her
you very much.
along.
Thanks,
Yes,
sister.
yes, my brother. All right. So I remember there's a funny story that happened 2 weeks after you closed and the new people moved in. So you sold it $299, you got your cash, and then something happened 2 weeks later. Tell us about that, Blaze.
Oh, a 3-foot diameter tree fell and almost fell completely on the house.
no, it didn't fall on the house.
Okay, come on, wait a minute. Let that pause.
It was the next door
Okay.
neighbors. It was the next door neighbor's tree, and it was ginormous. These are big, beautiful oak trees that line all these streets.
It's a 5-foot in diameter oak with like 4 trunks.
It took up their entire front yard.
And one of the large limbs landed on the roof.
These poor first-time home buyers. I was like, well, there's the price of home ownership right there.
Yeah.
People.
So, but at the end of it, I went by there earlier, just recently, and they just have a couple tarps over probably some little holes in the shingles, and then the gutter's a little dented, but
right.
So very small.
It was mainly in the yard, but this tree was ginormous.
Yeah, it's huge.
Poor homeowners. And you nailed it by saying, welcome to home ownership.
That's right. I hope they have insurance. There, get insurance, stay insured. That's another lesson right there.
Right.
Yes. And great job on this property. I saw it afterwards. I remember going over, us having a couple drinks in there and going through everything. I feel like the master bath was ridiculous. I loved that shower. It was gorgeous. And then I remember you did these green glass tiles in in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So gorgeous.
You used your quartz counters.
Sparkling silver, yes. And it has a little bit of silver. It's white with some silver specks in it, and it brings out these stainless steel appliances. So you guys just nailed it with design, with the structure. Okay, so before we wrap up this project, any other last things? Because I know you have a very special talent, Blaze. So I know the tree fell on it, but tell us about this special talent. But he is in his bedroom, folks. So let's hope he knows what special talent I'm talking about.
Well, you're very sweet. But yes, I like to keep houses with the style of their period. So
keep some character in there.
Yeah, keep the character. We try not to go and just modernize everything. So the green glass tiles in the kitchen brought in that older tiny
antique-y
thing, but
like
also
retro.
still looked modern, without looking, too throwback. But we reused doors in a very special way. We used some of the exterior doors had glass on the top half, but solid on the bottom, and we were able to use that for the utility room. And we had another one for the walk-in closet in that master suite that we converted. So stuff like that. We put an arch in one of the doorways where there was this very narrow area. So stuff like that where you can just reuse existing devices to keep the character.
And Durham itself, as the people are very eclectic in the kind of houses they want and the style. So that was very fitting for that.
Yeah.
It keeps the authenticity of the home. So I love that.
That makes me feel good about life. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. So I'm glad you realized what special talent I was talking about there. So, all right, the last part of all of my podcasts is I get to find out what makes you two badasses. So I use the acronym BADASS, and I come up with these questions. So the first B is book. What is a book that made a huge difference in your life? Who's going to take this question?
Blaiswell.
I'll take it. There are 2 books, I think. The Millionaire Next Door that I read a bunch of years ago, and
who wrote The Millionaire Next Door?
And it was written by Thomas Stanley and William Danko.
Okay.
And also, this is a silly one, but how to turn an interview into a job. I'm an IT guy by trade. That's my W-2 job. I work for Duke, and I've been there for a couple decades, and so I'm extremely techie, and that just helped me figure out how to talk to people. It was good for me. Millionaire Next Door was a very interesting book because it was all about the misconceptions of who millionaires really are and their really just, jeans and t-shirt wearing kind of folks that you'd never suspect. It's not the caviar eating shrimp cocktail folks.
Right.
And those are the ones you have to be careful of.
Exactly.
Right.
The Millionaire Next Door has been on my list. I'm glad you've read that one and talked about that. So awesome. All right. The first A in Badass is advice. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Well, something that I'm sure I've received a lot of good advice, but something that sticks to my mind is that you won't get what you don't ask for. So open your mouth and ask.
Very good.
And then for me, it's give them a chance to say yes. And that's from my dad.
Okay.
Yeah, that pretty much goes along with what you said.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah.
So, if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no.
Right.
I love it. All right. The D in Badass is drive. What drives you to be successful?
Well, so for me,
Well,
you know what drives me is the search for drive. I am on a constant search for drive because it is not my greatest strength. I actually like learning, and I could spend the rest of my life just in classes. So the constant strive for drive is what drives me.
I love that. And it's funny you say that because you have such a drive. I will go through on Facebook and someone will say, hey, I got a property here. And before I can even type in my email address to send them stuff, there comes Val at whatever your email address is. I'm like, God, how did she get there before me? So you are on it. You definitely have a drive. And again, for 18 months for you guys to have accomplished as much as you have, the drive is there. You definitely have it.
And she understates herself. So
yes, she does.
Thank you, babe.
They're in bed, so let's not get the babe talk just going just yet. So got about 10 more minutes here. So all right. My second A and Badass is aspiration. I am such a goal setter. I am always curious what goals people are working on.
So basically one thing we're doing is, the house that we're living in right now, we're house hacking, but we also when we purchased this house, the 2 lots behind it, they were kind of landlocked by an illegal road. So we've just gone through the process through the city of what's called closing the road. It's like a paper road. It was going to be a cul-de-sac at one time. It never came to fruition. So we went through that process. We got the road closed legally, and then
8 months
we had to get it replatted. And now both the lots are of 5 lots, and we are going to build on them. When we sell this house, we're actually going to build a house to live on.
And move back there. That's the
plan.
move
back there. Mm-hmm.
That's a great goal.
Okay, so we also have a second goal. Our second goal is we own a 5-acre plot of land in Durham near Crowsdale, and we are looking at getting that subdivided and developed.
You're going to build brand new houses there?
We'll probably be the developer, possibly put the road in and utilities and sell the lots. We're not quite sure how far to take it quite yet.
We're thinking about selling the individual lots to different builders.
That is so out of my realm. I've never done a new build, so that's awesome. You guys are going to have to teach me how that goes.
Okay.
We can
All right.
figure it out.
I know. So the first S in Badass is systems. What systems do you all have in place to help you achieve success?
So one thing we did when we started on this venture, now Blaze had done it on his own with the house hacking, and then we decided to do it as a business. We joined an educational system called Fortune Builders. They have the systems already in place, and they basically teach those to you. So we have been just delving into education with them to learn systems. We do use a calendar. We do both have full-time job. Well, he has a full-time job. I have a part-time job. So basically our system is we try to get a couple of things done every day that has to do with real estate investing.
Education is so important because I tell my listeners all the time, you can definitely listen to all the different podcasts, the bigger pockets, and all that stuff is free, but you really have to invest in yourself. And I think when you pay a large chunk of money, because I did the same thing, I'm in Fortune Builders as well. I'm a mastery student. And when you pay that large chunk of money, it's more incentive to totally kick ass at it, So there's people who start and then never take things through to the end. So I think it's a really important part of becoming an investor is to get a really good education.
Yeah, that's actually one of the pieces of the system that I think is so important. Is
Absolutely.
The taking action part.
Yes. That is true. Many people get stuck and they just, that first taking action is huge.
Scary.
Yes. All right. So the last S in badass is success. What does success mean to you?
Well, everybody says freedom. So definitely success means freedom to me. But it also means making a positive difference in my life and in somebody else's life, whether that's just, the smallest little thing of a kind word to somebody or a big thing like helping somebody get out of a bad situation, making a positive difference.
You helped that brother and sister. I mean,
That's
that was huge. You paid that $5,000 towards closing. You helped them with their move. So that is such a great opportunity we have as real estate investors is to make a huge difference in folks' lives. So what does success mean to you?
Mine's simple. Quit my W-2 job.
Right.
I graduated in 85 and I haven't stopped. Computers, I'm
That's
ready.
right.
You graduated in 85?
No.
Oh my
He's an oldie but goodie.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were my much older brother. All right. So you guys have been a blast to interview. How can our listeners find you? What is your website?
Well, we do have a website. It's www.trailblazerhomesolutions, all one word, .com.
Very good. And do you have the before and after pictures of this property we discussed today?
We do.
I'm sure the listeners and others, yes, because you've done a handful of projects.
Some ugly ones.
And I know the listeners are going to want to see that glass tile and that amazing master bath that you just decked out. So listeners, make sure you go check out their website. Everybody, that is all. Thank you for listening. We will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery and don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.